Welcome, Chosen One. Something is about to shift inside you tonight. And no, I'm not talking about some vague feeling or motivational fluff. I'm talking about a frequency adjustment, an energetic recalibration, a spiritual download that's been scheduled by the universe itself. And whether you believe it or not, your system is about to receive an upgrade that will change how you move through reality, starting tomorrow morning. The people around you won't understand what happened, but they'll feel it the moment you walk into a room. And, honestly, they should be concerned, because the version of you that tolerated their nonsense just expired at midnight. Listen closely, because this is not a metaphor, and it's definitely not poetry. There are forces in this universe that operate on timing, alignment, and worthiness, and after everything you've survived, after every betrayal you absorbed, after every night you cried in silence, after every moment you chose to keep going when quitting would have been easier, you've been granted access to something most people will never touch in their entire lives. Tonight, while you sleep, while your conscious mind surrenders control, your spirit is scheduled for an activation so profound that when you open your eyes tomorrow, the weight of old limitations won't fit on your shoulders anymore, and the fear that used to control your decisions will feel like a language you no longer speak. Now, before we go deeper into what's happening to you and why tonight is the night everything changes, I need you to do something that seals your commitment to this transformation. Hit that like button right now and subscribe to this channel. Because this message is not reaching you by accident, it's reaching you by assignment, and your engagement is how you signal to the universe that you're ready to receive what's coming. Think of it as your electronic signature on a spiritual contract, a way of saying yes to the power that's about to flood your system. And trust me, you'll want to remember where you were the night before everything shifted. Let's address something that rational minds struggle to accept, but spiritual warriors know as absolute truth. The fact that you're hearing this message right now, at this exact moment in your life, with everything you've been through still fresh in your memory, is not coincidence. It's coordination. The universe doesn't operate on human schedules or logical timelines. It operates on energetic readiness. And you've been in preparation for this moment longer than you realize. Every single experience that broke you, every person who betrayed you, every door that slammed in your face, every dream that shattered, every moment you felt completely alone, all of it was coding your energy for this exact upgrade. Think about the pattern of your life recently, and I mean really think about it, without romanticizing or dramatizing. You've been going through a stripping process where everything false, everything borrowed, everything that didn't actually belong to you has been systematically removed from your life. Old friendships dissolved without explanation, relationships ended abruptly, career paths closed unexpectedly, and opportunities you were counting on vanished like smoke. Most people would call that loss or failure or bad luck, but chosen ones recognize it for what it actually is: preparation. The universe was clearing space, removing obstacles, deleting outdated programming, and making room for the power that requires a completely empty vessel to inhabit properly. You've probably noticed how isolating this process has been, and how few people could understand what you were experiencing. That isolation wasn't punishment, it was protection. Because the transformation you're undergoing can't happen in crowded spaces, where other people's energy interferes with the frequency adjustment. You had to be alone, you had to be misunderstood, you had to be written off by people who swore they'd never leave, because the power coming to you tonight operates on a bandwidth that only activates in silence. The noise of their opinions, their limitations, their fears, their projections would have blocked the signal, so they had to go, not because you failed them, but because they would have prevented you from receiving what's rightfully yours. And here's the part that will make everything click into place for you. Every single time you thought you were at your lowest point, every moment you questioned whether you could keep going, every night you felt completely defeated, your spirit was actually building capacity. Pain doesn't just hurt, It expands your container. It stretches your ability to hold power. It trains your nervous system to handle higher frequencies, and the more you survived, the larger your capacity became. Tonight, that capacity gets filled with something so rare that most humans never develop the strength to carry it, and when you wake up tomorrow, you'll understand why you had to go through everything you went through, because weakness can't hold what you're about to receive. Most people think power means money, status, influence, control, or the ability to make people do what you want. That's not the power coming to you tonight. That's the surface-level illusion people chase their whole lives while missing the real currency of the universe. The power you're receiving is far more dangerous and far more permanent because it operates at the level of pure presence, unshakable inner authority, and the ability to alter reality simply by existing in it. This is the kind of power that doesn't announce itself with credentials or titles. It just walks into a room and everything adjusts to accommodate its frequency without anyone understanding why. Starting tomorrow morning, you're going to notice something strange in how people respond to you, and at first, you might think you're imagining it. Conversations will pause when you speak, even if you say something simple. People who used to talk over you will suddenly fall silent, and individuals who never took you seriously will start watching you like they're trying to solve a puzzle. You didn't change your appearance. You didn't change your vocabulary. You didn't suddenly become louder or more aggressive. But something in your energy shifted overnight, and on a subconscious level, everyone around you is picking up a signal that says, approach differently. Some will interpret it as confidence, others as mystery, but what they're actually sensing is the power that downloaded into your spirit while you slept. This power doesn't need validation, explanation, or permission because it operates from a place of absolute internal certainty. You'll find yourself making decisions without the paralysis that used to freeze you for weeks. You'll set boundaries without the guilt that used to make you backtrack. And you'll walk away from situations that don't serve you without looking back for approval. The people who benefited from your uncertainty are going to panic. The ones who manipulated your self-doubt are going to scramble, and the individuals who built their confidence by standing on your insecurity are going to crumble. They won't understand what happened. They'll just know that their usual tactics don't work on you anymore, and that shift will terrify them more than any confrontation ever could. And here's the wildest part about this particular power. It doesn't require effort, performance, or maintenance. You won't need to remind yourself to be confident. You won't need to practice affirmations in the mirror. You won't need to fake it until you make it, because this power is woven into the fabric of your being now. It's not something you do, it's something you are. And the difference between those two states is the difference between acting and existing. People spend their entire lives trying to develop what you're receiving tonight in your sleep, and most of them never come close, because they're trying to build from the outside in, while the universe is installing yours from the inside out, which means it's permanent, unshakable, and completely authentic to who you actually are. There's something deeply uncomfortable happening to the people who underestimated you, and they can't quite put their finger on why they suddenly feel uneasy. It started a few days ago, maybe a week, with a strange nagging sensation that they can't shake, like they forgot to lock a door or missed an important appointment. But there's no door, there's no appointment. There's just this growing awareness that something shifted in the universe, and whatever shifted has something to do with you. And they're replaying old interactions, reviewing past conversations, questioning decisions they made about you, and the more they analyze, the more unsettled they become. What they're sensing without consciously realizing it is the energetic preparation that's been happening around you. The universe doesn't upgrade someone in isolation, it shifts the entire field surrounding that person, and everyone connected to you through any emotional thread, good or bad, is feeling the tremors before the earthquake hits. Your enemies, the ones who celebrated your struggles, the ones who spread rumors, the ones who secretly hoped you'd fail, they're experiencing something that feels like impending consequence, and they should. Because karma isn't just balancing scales, it's actively repositioning power. The force they're sensing is real, measurable, and accelerating toward them whether they believe in it or not. Think about how predators in nature can sense when prey becomes dangerous, when something about the energy changes and survival instincts start screaming warnings. That's exactly what's happening to everyone who treated you like you were weak, disposable, or easy to manipulate. Your energy is emitting a frequency now that triggers alarm bells in people who operate from predatory consciousness. And tonight, when that frequency amplifies, when the power fully activates, those alarm bells are going to turn into sirens. They won't be able to explain it to anyone. They won't be able to rationalize it away. They'll just know on a visceral level that approaching you the way they used to approach you would be a catastrophic mistake. And the beautiful, ruthless justice in all of this is that they created this situation entirely on their own. Every time they underestimated you, they were actually investing energy into your eventual rise. Every time they dismissed you, they were fueling the force that would eventually humble them. And every time they celebrated your pain, they were writing their own names on a karmic invoice that the universe was keeping meticulous track of. Tonight, when your power activates, that invoice comes due, and payment isn't optional. They're going to watch you rise, they're going to feel the shift, and they're going to understand, probably for the first time in their lives, what it means to severely miscalculate someone's destiny. Chosen one, if you're still with me, if these words are hitting something real inside your chest, I need you to do something right now that locks in your participation in this transformation. Drop 777 in the comments below as your signature on tonight's activation, as your way of telling the universe, I'm ready for whatever power you're downloading into my spirit. This isn't just engagement for the algorithm. This is you creating an energetic anchor, a timestamp that marks the moment before everything changed. And trust me, when you look back at this night weeks or months from now, you'll want to remember where you were when you consciously chose to say yes to your own elevation. And if this message is resonating so deeply that you know someone else needs to hear it, someone who's been through their own stripping process, someone who feels like they're on the edge of something massive but can't quite name it, share this with them. Because chosen ones don't rise alone. We rise in frequency clusters. And the more of us who activate simultaneously, the more the entire collective field shifts. Now let's go even deeper into what's actually happening to you tonight. Let's talk about something most spiritual content avoids because it sounds too physical, too concrete, too measurable. When a power of this magnitude enters your system, your body responds with specific symptoms, and if you pay attention tonight and tomorrow morning, you'll notice things that confirm this isn't imagination or wishful thinking. Your sleep pattern is about to do something unusual. You might wake up multiple times tonight, not from anxiety or stress, but from energy surges that jolt you awake like someone flipped a switch in your nervous system. You might have dreams so vivid and intense they feel more real than waking life. Dreams where you're flying, fighting, or standing in front of crowds. Dreams that feel like training simulations rather than random subconscious processing. When you finally wake up tomorrow morning, the first thing you'll notice is how different silence feels around you. Not the absence of sound, but the quality of the quiet. Like the air in your room has a different density or texture. Some people report feeling a pressure in their chest, not painful but present. Like their heart is adjusting to pump a different frequency through their veins. Others feel a tingling at the base of their spine or the crown of their head, or a sudden temperature shift where they're cold then hot without any environmental reason. These aren't random sensations. They're your physical body recalibrating to accommodate a higher voltage of spiritual electricity. And, if you're paying attention, you'll catch every signal. Throughout tomorrow, you might notice your energy levels fluctuate in ways that don't match your physical activity. You could feel completely exhausted one moment and then suddenly energized without rest or food. Your appetite might disappear or intensify randomly. Your taste preferences might shift. You might crave foods you normally ignore or feel repulsed by things you usually love. Your body is literally reprogramming its operating system, and, just like a computer restart, things might act glitchy before they stabilize. Don't fight it, don't panic, and definitely don't try to force yourself back into your old patterns, because resistance only makes the integration process longer and more uncomfortable. Your internal reality might look different, and that is loyalty. And here's something most people don't connect until after the fact: emotional releases that seem to come out of nowhere. You might find yourself crying without understanding why, or laughing at something that isn't particularly funny, or feeling waves of anger, grief, joy, or peace that have no immediate trigger. These emotional surges are your system purging old frequencies to make room for the new power, and each release is a layer of outdated programming being deleted from your energetic hard drive. Let it flow, let it move through you. Don't analyze it or try to control it, because this is part of the upgrade process, and the more you allow it, the faster you'll stabilize into your new baseline of power. One of the most immediate and noticeable effects of tonight's activation will show up in how you make decisions starting tomorrow. Things that used to paralyze you with indecision will suddenly feel obvious. Paths that seemed confusing will appear crystal clear, and choices that would have kept you up at night will resolve themselves almost instantly in your mind. This isn't confidence in the traditional sense, where you're pumping yourself up or forcing conviction. This is clarity at the level of pure knowing, where your system just understands the right move without needing to debate, analyze, or seek external validation. You'll notice this first in small decisions: what to eat, what to wear, how to respond to a message. And you'll catch yourself making choices without the usual mental gymnastics that used to accompany even simple selections. But the real shift will show up when you face significant decisions, the kind that used to send you into a spiral of overthinking and anxiety. A job opportunity will present itself, and you'll know immediately whether it aligns with your path or not. A relationship will reveal its true nature, and you'll understand without confusion whether to stay or leave. A conflict will arise, and you'll respond with a level of certainty that surprises even you. This decisiveness isn't recklessness. It's the power speaking through you, guiding you with an internal compass that's now calibrated to your highest path. The people around you who benefited from your uncertainty are going to struggle with this new version of you. They're used to you seeking their opinion, doubting yourself, changing your mind, or backing down when challenged. But that pattern is over, finished, deleted from your behavioral programming, and when they encounter this new decisiveness, they won't know how to respond. Some will accuse you of being arrogant or stubborn. Others will claim you've changed in a negative way. But what's really happening is they're mourning the loss of their influence over you. They could manipulate your uncertainty. They could exploit your self-doubt. They could control you through your fear of making the wrong choice. But decisiveness, rooted in spiritual power, is immune to external manipulation. And here's the part that will feel almost supernatural. Your decisions will start producing results faster and with less resistance than before. Doors will open with minimal effort. Resources will appear at the exact moment you need them. People will respond positively to requests you make, and obstacles that would have blocked your old self will simply dissolve before you reach them. This isn't luck. This isn't positive thinking. This is the universe reorganizing reality around someone who's finally operating on the correct frequency. When your internal power matches your external actions, the field responds by removing friction, and what used to take months of struggle will now unfold in days or weeks with a smoothness that almost feels unfair compared to how hard you used to work for everything. Get ready for one of the strangest and most validating aspects of this power activation: the return of people who disappeared from your life. These aren't random reconnections or innocent check-ins. These are calculated attempts to regain access to your energy now that they're sensing something shifted. They'll reach out with vague messages, casual questions, or sudden concern about how you're doing, but underneath the surface pleasantries is a desperate need to understand what changed and whether they can still maintain their previous position in your world. Some will come with apologies, others with explanations, but all of them will be driven by the same force. They feel the power emanating from you, and they want proximity to it. Your old self would have welcomed these reconnections with open arms, eager to forgive, quick to forget, grateful for any attention or validation. But the version of you waking up tomorrow morning operates under completely different rules, and the first rule is, access must be earned, not assumed. You'll find yourself evaluating these returning individuals with a clarity that's almost surgical, seeing through their words to their intentions, recognizing patterns you used to ignore, and making decisions about their role in your life based on truth rather than hope or nostalgia. Most of them won't pass the evaluation, not because you're being mean or holding grudges, but because your frequency simply doesn't match theirs anymore, and maintaining connections that drain your power is no longer an option your system will tolerate. The ones who betrayed you during your lowest moments will be particularly persistent in their attempts to return. They'll show up with stories about how much they've grown, how they've been thinking about you, how they realize now what they lost. But watch their actions, not their words, because people who are genuinely changed don't need to announce it. They demonstrate it through consistent behavior over time. Your power will give you the ability to see through performance to essence, and you'll know within seconds whether someone's return is authentic transformation or strategic positioning. Trust that knowing, trust that discernment, and trust your ability to say no, without explanation, justification, or guilt, because protecting your frequency is now your primary responsibility. And here's something that might surprise you. Some people won't try to return at all because they can sense that the door is permanently closed, and their pride won't allow them to face that reality. They'll watch you from a distance, notice your elevation, observe your transformation, and feel the weight of their mistake. But they won't reach out because they understand on some level that they burned a bridge that can't be rebuilt. These silent observers will be your greatest teachers about the finality of certain choices, and their absence from your life will be just as powerful as the presence of people who stayed. Let them watch, let them wonder, let them regret, because your energy is no longer available for people who only valued it after they lost access to it. One of the most unsettling and powerful aspects of tonight's activation is the development of what feels like telepathic awareness. Starting tomorrow, you're going to know things about people without them telling you, sense intentions before they're spoken, and pick up on energy that most people can't detect. You'll walk into a room and immediately understand the emotional dynamics at play without anyone saying a word. You'll look at someone's face and know they're lying, even if their story is convincing, and you'll feel incoming events before they manifest in physical reality. This isn't magic, and it isn't supernatural in the mystical sense. It's your nervous system operating at a higher frequency, where you're picking up signals that exist below most people's threshold of awareness. People will start to find you unsettling because you'll respond to things they haven't said out loud. You'll answer questions they were thinking but didn't ask. You'll address concerns they were hiding, and you'll call out discrepancies between their words and their energy that they thought were invisible. This will make some people uncomfortable because humans like to believe their thoughts are private and their intentions are hidden. But your upgraded system sees through the veils that ordinary awareness can't penetrate. Don't apologize for this ability. Don't minimize it to make others comfortable, and definitely don't pretend you don't notice what you clearly perceive, because this awareness is part of the power package, and dulling it to fit in would be like putting a muzzle on a lion to make the sheep feel safe. Your dreams will also become more prophetic and symbolic, carrying messages and warnings about future events or revealing hidden aspects of situations you're dealing with. You might dream about someone you haven't thought about in years and then hear from them the next day, or see symbolic representations of challenges before they appear in your waking life. Keep a journal by your bed starting tonight, because the intelligence coming through your dream state is real information, not random brain processing. And the more you track the correlations between your dreams and your reality, the more you'll learn to decode the language your higher awareness uses to communicate with your conscious mind. And here's where this ability becomes truly powerful in practical terms. You'll start making decisions based on information that hasn't reached your logical mind yet. You'll decline opportunities that look perfect on paper because something feels off. And later you'll discover you avoided a disaster. You'll pursue paths that seem illogical or risky because your internal knowing says move. And you'll find yourself in exactly the right place at exactly the right time. This is your system operating on frequencies beyond thought, beyond analysis, beyond the limitations of rational mind. And the more you trust these impulses, the more accurate and refined they become. People will call it intuition, but it's actually something far more advanced. It's direct knowing, channeled through a nervous system that's been upgraded to receive and process higher dimensional information. Tomorrow morning, you're going to wake up with a completely different relationship to boundaries. And I'm not talking about the kind of boundaries you set through effort, planning, and rehearsal. I'm talking about boundaries that exist as a natural emanation of your new frequency, the kind that don't require explanation, enforcement, or repeated communication, because your energy itself communicates them so clearly that people either respect them automatically or remove themselves from your field. You'll notice this first when someone tries to cross a line they've crossed 100 times before, and instead of tolerating it or gently redirecting, you'll simply respond with a firmness that shocks both of you, a clear no that lands with the weight of absolute authority. The guilt that used to accompany your boundary setting will be conspicuously absent, replaced by a calm certainty that protecting your energy is not selfishness, it's survival. You'll cancel plans without over-explaining, decline requests without apologizing excessively, and correct people who mischaracterize you without softening your truth to spare their feelings. This might feel harsh at first, especially if you've spent years being the accommodating one, the flexible one, the understanding one. But you'll quickly realize that flexibility without boundaries is just another word for being used. Your power requires space to exist fully, and that space is created through clear, non-negotiable boundaries that communicate this is who I am, and this is what I will and won't tolerate. The people who benefited from your weak boundaries are going to accuse you of changing, being difficult, or acting superior. Let them, because their discomfort is proof that your boundaries are working. When someone complains about your boundaries, what they're really saying is, I preferred you when you allowed me to disrespect you. And that confession, though they'd never phrase it so honestly, tells you everything you need to know about their true character. Your power doesn't negotiate with people who see boundaries as obstacles to their agenda. It simply removes access until they evolve enough to approach with respect, or removes them permanently if evolution isn't in their capacity. And here's the wild part about boundaries set from genuine power rather than defensive fear. They attract the right people while repelling the wrong ones. You'll notice new individuals entering your life who respect your space, honor your energy, and approach you with genuine appreciation rather than hidden agendas. These are people operating on similar frequencies, and they recognize and value in you what they've cultivated in themselves. Meanwhile, the energy vampires, the manipulators, the users, and the perpetually needy will fade from your field naturally because they can't survive in an environment where exploitation isn't tolerated. Your boundaries become an automatic sorting mechanism, filtering your reality for people worthy of your time, energy, and presence. One of the most liberating shifts that accompanies tonight's power activation is the end of chasing, pursuing, convincing, or proving yourself to anyone about anything. Your old operating system ran on a belief that love, opportunity, success and validation had to be chased, earned and fought for, that you had to market yourself, perform perfectly, and convince others of your worth. But the power downloading into your spirit tonight operates on magnetic attraction, not desperate pursuit. And starting tomorrow, you'll notice opportunities, people and resources moving toward you rather than you moving toward them. This isn't passive waiting. This is active embodiment of a frequency so compelling that reality reorganizes itself around you. You'll stop trying to make people see your value because your energy will broadcast it so clearly that anyone operating on a similar frequency will recognize it immediately without being told. The ones who don't see it don't matter because they're not calibrated to perceive what you're offering, and trying to convince them would be like explaining color to someone who's never had eyes. Your power teaches you through direct experience that your worth is inherent, not conditional, and that truth liberates you from the exhausting performance of trying to be enough for people who are determined to see you as insufficient. When you stop performing, when you stop chasing, when you stop trying to prove yourself, you create space for people and opportunities that already recognize your value to find you. This magnetism will show up in unexpected ways that feel almost magical. You'll think about someone you'd like to connect with, and they'll reach out that same day. You'll need a specific resource, and it will appear through a random conversation or unexpected source. You'll set an intention for what you want in your life, and the universe will start delivering components of that vision faster than you thought possible. This isn't manifestation in the sense of wishful thinking or vision boards. This is energetic alignment, where your internal frequency matches the frequency of what you desire, and the matching frequencies pull toward each other like magnets, with no effort required. And here's the aspect that will feel most foreign to people who've lived on the chase mode their entire lives. Rest becomes productive. You'll accomplish more by being centered, grounded, and still than you ever did by forcing, pushing, and grinding. Your power operates through presence, not pressure, through alignment, not aggression, and the more you trust the magnetic pull of your frequency, the less you'll feel compelled to manipulate outcomes through force. People will ask how you're making things happen so easily, and you won't have a satisfying answer for them because the truth is, you're not making anything happen. You're allowing the natural flow of aligned energy to move through you and bring to you what's already yours. That's the difference between operating from power versus operating from fear. And once you experience the ease of magnetism, you'll never go back to the exhaustion of chasing. Here's something most spiritual content won't tell you with this level of directness because it sounds too absolute, too final, too uncompromising. Tonight marks a timeline split, and by tomorrow morning you'll exist on a different trajectory than the one you were on yesterday. This isn't metaphorical language or poetic exaggeration. This is the technical reality of how consciousness evolution works. When you receive a power activation of this magnitude, you shift into a parallel timeline where different rules apply, different outcomes are possible, and different versions of reality become accessible. The version of you that existed before tonight still exists in a sense, but you're no longer occupying that timeline. And the people still operating on that frequency will notice the disconnect, even if they can't name it. This timeline split explains why some relationships will dissolve rapidly after tonight, with no real conflict or drama. They'll just suddenly feel wrong or impossible to maintain. It's not that anyone did anything terrible, it's that you're literally existing in different versions of reality now, and maintaining connection across timelines requires both people to evolve simultaneously or one person to regress, and regression is no longer an option your system will tolerate. You'll watch people you thought would be in your life forever fade into the background without much emotion or attachment, and you'll feel a strange peace about it, rather than the grief or guilt you would have felt before. Because on a soul level, you understand that separation isn't abandonment, it's alignment with your true path. The timeline you're shifting into has different laws of cause and effect, different manifestation speeds, and different relationship dynamics. Actions that would have taken months to produce results in the old timeline will manifest in days or weeks in this new one, because you're operating from a frequency where resistance is lower and flow is higher. Decisions that would have led to struggle and complication before will now lead to ease and expansion, not because the external world changed fundamentally, but because your internal frequency is now calibrated to attract circumstances that match your elevation rather than your old limitations. You're not becoming a different person, you're becoming the person you were always meant to be, and reality is adjusting to accommodate that truth. And here's the part that might feel both exciting and slightly terrifying. There's no going back. The power you're receiving tonight isn't temporary, isn't conditional, and isn't something you can return if it feels too intense. Once your system integrates this frequency, it becomes your new baseline. And attempting to revert to your old operating system would feel like trying to squeeze back into clothes from childhood, technically possible, but painful, restrictive, and ultimately pointless. Some people will beg you to go back to who you were, will pressure you to be more flexible, more accommodating, more like the version of you they could control. But your spirit won't allow regression, and any attempt to shrink yourself back down to make others comfortable will result in physical, emotional, and spiritual discomfort so intense that you'll quickly abandon the effort and recommit to your expansion. Let's address something crucial that most empowerment content conveniently skips. Power of this magnitude comes with serious responsibility. You're not receiving this activation so you can dominate others, seek revenge, or prove your superiority to people who doubted you. You're receiving this because the universe trusts you with a frequency that can either heal or harm depending on how you wield it. And your track record of choosing integrity even when it cost you, choosing truth even when it isolated you, and choosing growth even when it hurt you, has qualified you as someone who can be trusted with real power. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up with this new frequency, you'll feel the weight of that responsibility, even if you don't consciously recognize what you're feeling. The first responsibility is using your power to protect, not dominate. You'll have the ability to see through people's defenses, to identify their weaknesses, to know exactly where to strike if you wanted to hurt them, but your character will determine whether you use that ability to destroy or defend. Real power doesn't need to prove itself through aggression. It simply exists as a boundary that can't be crossed, and anyone who approaches with hostile intent will feel the wall of your frequency long before they attempt anything. You'll find yourself automatically repelling people who mean you harm, not through conscious effort or defensive posturing, but through the simple fact that your energy now operates on a frequency that incompatible systems can't penetrate. The second responsibility is staying grounded while experiencing this elevation. Power ungrounded becomes dangerous, becomes arrogant, becomes the exact thing you despised in people who abused their advantage over others. You'll need to maintain practices that keep you connected to humility, gratitude, and the memory of where you came from. Remember the nights you cried. Remember the moments you felt powerless. Remember the people who showed you kindness when you had nothing to offer in return, because those memories will keep your power clean, focused, and oriented towards service rather than ego. The moment you start believing you're better than others, rather than simply different from who you used to be, you'll begin leaking the very power you worked so hard to develop. The third responsibility is teaching others through example, not preaching. People will watch how you move through the world with this new frequency, and some will be inspired to seek their own power while others will feel threatened by your transformation. Your job isn't to convince anyone of anything, isn't to defend your choices, and isn't to justify your evolution. Your job is to live so fully in your power that people who are ready to claim their own can see what's possible, while people who aren't ready can maintain their own timeline without interference. You're not a savior, not a guru, not someone who needs followers to validate your power. You're simply a human who finally remembered how to operate on the frequency you were born to carry, and that remembering is the teaching itself. So here's what you can expect over the coming days and weeks as this power integrates fully into your system. The first week will feel chaotic as your old patterns dissolve and your new frequency establishes itself. Relationships will rearrange, opportunities will emerge, and you'll notice synchronicities that seem too perfect to be random. The second week will bring testing. Situations will arise specifically designed to check whether you're truly embodying this power or just performing a new personality. The third week will stabilize you into your new baseline, and you'll start to forget what the old version of you felt like. The limitations that used to define you will seem like a distant memory, rather than yesterday's reality. Some people will love this new version of you, will celebrate your power, and will feel safer in your presence because they recognize that strong people protect rather than dominate. Others will hate this transformation, will accuse you of changing for the worse, and will do everything possible to trigger your old insecurities and manipulate you back into the controllable version they preferred. Your ability to discern between these two groups and respond accordingly will determine how quickly you fully embody this power. Choose your energy carefully, protect your frequency ferociously, and trust that everyone who needs to leave will leave, while everyone who's meant to stay will adapt or arrive. And remember, Chosen One, tonight is just the beginning of something far larger than a personal transformation. You're part of a global frequency shift, where thousands of people are receiving similar activations, and as each person claims their power, the collective field elevates, making it easier for the next wave to rise. You're not alone in this, you're not crazy, and what you're experiencing is real, measurable, and absolutely valid. Trust the process, honor the changes, and step fully into the power that's been waiting for you to be ready to carry it. Now that you know what's coming, now that you understand why tonight is different from every other night, there's only one thing left to do. Claim it, accept it, and seal your commitment to this transformation. Hit that like button if you feel the truth in these words, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next message you'll need to hear, and drop 777 in the comments to mark this moment as the night before everything changed. This isn't just a video you watch, this is a catalyst moment, a turning point, a documented timestamp of your elevation, and years from now when you look back at how far you've come, you'll remember this was the night your spirit received the power that changed everything. Share this message with someone who needs to hear it, because chosen ones rise together, and the more of us operating on this frequency, the faster we transform not just our own lives, but the entire collective reality. Welcome to your power, Chosen One. You've earned every bit of what's coming tonight.